Okay, some background music. Into 2025. Let's have some smooth jazz. Smooth jazz. Hello and welcome back to the SoloRolePlayers podcast, the final episode ever for the year of 2025. This is me, PJ, your host, and I am here today just to give a little bit of a wrap-up of the year that was 2025 in solo role-playing, and it was a beauty. Now, little word of warning, I am not in the utmost respectable level of health currently, so if you can hear that in my voice, apologies, but that does not at all assuage, if that's the right word, my excitement for getting on the mic today and talking and reflecting a little bit on the year that was 2025. The inspiration for this episode came from a chat that I had the other day with your uncle and mine, Man Alone, where we talked a little bit about Dolmenwood December and a bit about the year that was and what he was looking forward to next year and what he enjoyed doing this year. And that made me want to put together sort of my ideas as well. That episode was for the patrons, but I have gone and made that available to free members as well. So as a last little gift for the end of the year, a little post-Christmas, pre-New Year's Eve, a little something, you can head over to Patreon/SoloRolePlayers and sign up as a free member, where you can have a listen to that chat with Man Alone. It's silly, just what you could expect from our chats. And there's a couple of other little bonus episodes on there as well if you haven't been following along, including the my recording of my 20-minute challenge, which is still ongoing this month. If you have not sent in anything for your 20-minute challenge, or just done it, you don't have to send me anything. You can still do it. You should still do it. It is a very good thing to do. I've had really fantastic feedback and response from that. And if you want to send me something, either flick me an email or a message. But the best thing is to record a little bit of audio on the SpeakPipe or on your voice memos and email it or whatever of your thoughts before and after the 20-minute session. And I'm going to put together some kind of a results episode like I did for the Solo Role Players Challenge last year or this year. Can't remember when that was. It's been a lot of episodes this year. Speaking of that, this year I just calculated that I recorded I recorded more than this. I released 61 episodes this year across the public and the premium feed. 27 of those were full-length public episodes, and the rest were continued playthroughs of the games that I start on the main episode, as well as some other bits and pieces that I did. All the main stuff comes here to the public feed. That is its home. That's where it belongs. But all these extra plays and some of the character creation and little things that don't really fit in the main feed on my fortnightly schedule go over there on the Patreon. And looking at that, I cannot believe that I recorded 61 full episodes this year. My maths tells me that's more than one a week. And considering all of them involve playtime and all this kind of thing, I think that's pretty impressive. I know other podcasters do a lot more than that, but hey, I'm pretty proud of that number. I was quite happy to see that when I just did the maths there. Reflecting on this year a little bit, what I want to do is, I'm not going to go on and on. I also have to record today. I'm doing the results for the giveaway of the Dolmenwood December, so that is now officially closed. If you did not enter into that already, the results will be up in the next couple of days, depending when I can find time to squeeze in the editing and the recording and that kind of thing if I don't get to record it today. So keep an ear out for that as well. I have a whole bunch of other episodes that I recorded and didn't get to fit into the scheduling of the channel this year, and I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with them. Some of them will come out naturally along the flow, with the flow of things next year. Some of them I might just throw in as bonus episodes just to get them out there. I feel a bit guilty for some of these fantastic guests I've had that just the way I've been theming the releases, they haven't made it out into the world just yet. And if that is you, I'm very sorry about that. It does not mean that your interviews were not fantastic. They will go out there to the public eventually. It's just a matter of scheduling and fitting them in and that kind of thing. Too much content is a better problem to have than not enough content, I guess. So I have no real plan for this. I did put out a little post yesterday on Reddit and on our Discord, but just asking people to give their sort of wrap-up thoughts on the year. And so I'm going to go through now the list of like some standout things for me this year, and then I'm going to go through and read through those comments and just talk a little bit about my thoughts. This is very chill. This is a bonus sort of an episode. I was not planning to release episodes in the last couple of weeks of the year because it has been absolutely astoundingly crazy with house full of additional family who don't usually live here and additional shifts at work because it's busy time at the moment. We got almost no time off. And so this is a bonus. Even though it's on normally scheduled day, this is kind of a bonus episode still. We will get back into regularly scheduled programming as January slowly starts to kick in and normality returns, and boy, do I look forward to the return of normality. Let me tell you, this has been possibly the craziest month of my life and the month of the year where I was able to do almost no solo roleplay at all, and that made me very sad and made me realize just how important to me this hobby and this podcast and this community has become to me and my life over the course of the year. And more than anything else, it makes me so excited for a whole brand new year full of potential just around the corner. I hope you're excited about that too. Let's get into my thoughts. One of the most important things behind the scenes for 2025 is that it was the year that I launched my Patreon. And I know if you're not a patron and you don't want to be or can't afford to be, that's absolutely fine. I love you just as much as anyone else. And I'm sorry to talk about it, and I hope I don't talk about it too much. I know it's annoying to hear all the time from content creators about their Patreon when you're not interested or able to do it. I get that's annoying. Just for me, it's become such a huge part of my life. And as you heard from the episode count there, I've done so many episodes for that, let alone the hours and hours of conversation we've had in the Discord and in the book club meetup groups and that kind of thing. And it's been so humbling and so wonderful. It's certainly the crowning achievement of my life in terms of connecting on the internet. I've never had internet groups necessarily. I've been pretty much an offline sort of a person. But just connecting with those people and anyone who emails me or gets in touch with me at all, connecting with people out there who are liking what I'm doing and who tell me what it means to them, what I'm doing, and how it's helped them get into their own solo play. I just can't express how special that is for me to hear and to be proven that by people who are willing and able to support me. And so I'm not going to go on about the Patreon. As I said, I know it's annoying, but I cannot understate how important that has been for me this year and for the success and the future of this show. It has really allowed me to put in and justify a lot more time out of what is turning into a very busy lifestyle. Hopefully that can balance out a little bit the next few months. But yeah, it's just been so important and just so wonderful and humbling, as is just the fact that people listen to this and get something out of it. What started as an accidental project as a way to sort of make me accountable for actually playing in this hobby rather than just researching it and thinking about it and actually sitting down and playing, which is kind of why I started this show. It's just been amazing. Thank you all, everyone. That's enough gushing about that. Let's talk about some games. I scribbled down some headings like Game of the Year, like to get back to, that kind of thing, and I'm just going to go through them. Massive caveats that this is just how I feel right now. I have not sat down and thought about this extensively or soul-searched about some of these answers. This is just what is in my head and my heart right now at the end of the year. And it's probably biased, probably some recency bias in there, and this list could change next week. But this is just giving you an idea of where I'm at about this wonderful year where I really played a lot of games. I think I played easily 20 games this year, I think. Some of them over multiple sessions. Some of them as many as 10 or 12 hour to 2 hour long sessions in the same campaign. So I feel like that's a lot, and I feel like that is a bit of an achievement. I just want to go through this. The game of the year. I think the game of the year I might have to give it to 2. I think the game of the year is Dolmen Wood, and I know this is what I was talking about when I said recency biased, because it is still Dolmen Wood December, and although I did my play sessions for Dolmen Wood last month, or even nearly 2 months ago, it has absolutely not left my head since I've been playing it. I have a map right now. I went out and I found a version, I think just on the website, but I found a version of the GM map that has less of the information on it, if that makes sense. It doesn't have the names of cities and that kind of thing. It just has the hex number and a bit of a representation. And I went and I sent that to an online poster printing place, and they sent me a map because I was frustrated I couldn't get a physical copy of the map, paper copy of the map yet. I don't love the fabric ones. And it came back, and I'm really excited about this. It's still on my table, and it's perfect, I think, because there's enough information to see, like, where the road is, or if you're heading to a river, or that kind of thing. But it's not. It's enough that every time you get to a hex and decide to explore it, I can open that up and be surprised by where I am and that kind of thing. So, yeah, Dolmen Wood has lived in my head. I cannot wait to get back to it. It is probably the next thing I play as I go through and do my sessions. I think I'm up to session 4 or 5 or 5 or 6 to get back in it and continue that story, which has really only just started. And I've had so much fun already, and it's taken up so much real estate in my head in a good way that I think I have to give Dolmen Wood the game of the year for me, with a special mention because it was at the very beginning of the year, and therefore maybe it is also the game of the year. Maybe they get equal titles, and that is Forbidden Lands. Forbidden Lands is not something that I thought was going to be so big and important to me. I really didn't. I know I talked a little bit about it on my birthday episode, I think. But Forbidden Lands, especially with the little hack I did, which I still love and like a lot more, and has led to the development of some other ideas, which I'll get to in a minute. But Forbidden Lands has probably been the single most effective solo play that I've done. That's a weird thing to say, but I mean that the way that the procedures are laid out, that's one that I played both on mic and off mic with some sort of scribbled note taking. First time trying, not actually journaling or anything like that, just taking enough notes and imagining everything. And that worked super well for that because of the procedural stuff. And it's worked really well for the narrative as well. It also worked really well for the published adventure style things when I went through Weatherstone, which is, for those who don't know, it's a published location of an adventure that's a bit like a point crawl. And I was able to crawl from room to room and you'd ask Mythic, or I can't remember how I did it now, but sort of check, is this what happened? And sort of change things as I went along. And I think that was the most successful experience for me, playing something published that felt like I was getting the goodness of what was written, but also the freedom and the freshness of normal open solo roleplay. So, yeah. I also did that, although you haven't heard this yet, but I did that with Fallout and Winter of Adam, using the deconstruct the known method, which was a significantly different result, and I look forward to talking about that in the future, but we're not ready to talk about that yet. That's part of another project. So games of the year, game of the year plus special mention, Dolmen Wood and Forbidden Lands. And I have started now the Raven's Purge campaign of Forbidden Lands. This is a good few months ago now. Definitely something I'm looking forward to getting back to. The next topic, the next heading I said, is something that I didn't play enough that I would like to get back to the table. And as is the nature of doing what I do, as Man Alone and I discussed on the other episode the other day, the nature of what we're doing, and this is the blessing and the curse, it means that we are forced to play more games generally, and that does mean that you don't necessarily get back to things as easily. And I was reminded recently when someone, I can't remember exactly how they contacted me or who it was, but someone contacted me, either it was in the entry for, I can't remember. Someone contacted me and they said, hey, I'd love to hear you get back to Wilderfeast. And it reminded me that Wilderfeast really was something special and a really different feeling experience to any of the other RPGs that I played this year. I must say I didn't race to pick it up again straight away, but later on, looking back at it, it is something that I would really like to get to the table again. There's some really interesting mechanisms and systems in there in general, but also for solo play. I just need to make a note of something else I completely forgot about. One sec for the next topic. So yeah, I like to get back to the table. And obviously I've just said Dolmen Wood and Forbidden Lands and Fallout, all of those things. I want to get back to the table. But the game that I played once, didn't play enough this year, and I'm really interested to continue with, I think, and that is Wilderfeast. You can go and check out that episode there if you want to hear about that. The next scribble that I scribbled was what the best small game was. And I think this is an important category because even when I'm playing or when you're playing your bigger campaigns and your big adventures and that kind of thing, it can be really refreshing to pull a little game off the shelf. Or you're traveling and you just don't have the space and you want something nice and compact and small that gives you that itch and sparks your imagination and lets you fiddle with dice and mechanics. Those small games are wonderful. And there are a lot of candidates for this list, most of which I didn't play as much as I would have liked. Kernathalis is one of them. 2D6 Realm is another one, although I think I played that last year initially. But the one that's sticking with me, and this is maybe again recency bias because I played this actually most recently. This is the most recent game I played, and the episode isn't out yet. That is coming out hopefully in January, along with an interview with the author, and that is Beetle Knight. And I mentioned this on what was new to my table, said I was looking forward to it. I played it. It wasn't without hiccups in terms of, the nature of things not being comprehensive because it is just a small book. And I did have to interpret some things and look up some things and whatever, but it didn't matter because at the end of the day, I had a really, really nice experience in this unique little bug-sized world that was really imaginative but didn't put too much pressure on me for big narrative or that kind of thing, was nice and procedural, and just felt so damn cute and good and charming. Charm, I think, is the word in that. And it went straight to the obvious part of my shelf, not the less obvious part of my shelf where games can tend to disappear for a little while. So yeah, Beetle Knight is something I'm looking forward to playing more. I think that's one I'll take on a holiday with me, and just like I could play it on the back of a napkin, or just using the book and a couple of dice and the printed out hex sheet. I just put my character sheet on one side and the hex map on the other side, and that was all I needed to play. That was really lovely. I look forward to sharing that play with you. I think it was really fun. I think I even did a couple of extra sessions on that, which will also go over to the Patreon later. Another honorable mention, outside of Kernathalis, which I embarrassingly, sorry Alex, did not get to play this year at all, I don't think, is Kal Arath. And we did an episode on Kal Arath. We talked a lot about it over in our Discord. We have some hardcore Kal Arath fans in there. I got the Alrathak expansion, unofficial expansion for it as well, and I do look forward to getting into that. That certainly is a candidate for small and compact and travel and that kind of thing. I love it. I really like it. I'm keen to get back to it. Certainly for short sessions, it's really, really excellent. But I had to give it to Beetle Knight in this case because it felt so different and imaginative. Not that Kal Arath isn't, but it was just that different charm, that different feel. So honorable mention to Kal Arath as well. Things I didn't get to the table this year. The big one that I didn't get to the table this year is Mythic Bastionland, and that is sitting there. It is waiting patiently to be played, and played it will be. I even have an interview with Chris McDowell, which I recorded embarrassingly long ago now, and have just been waiting to get the game to the table before I put that interview together so I can release the things together. Chris, I don't know if you're a listener to this show, or a regular listener at least, but I'm really sorry that your interview has not come out yet. We had a great talk. Chris and I really got along. I think he's a fascinating guy with some really wonderful design, and I've heard incredible things about Mythic Bastionland from the TTRPG community, but also from the solo community, and I really look forward to getting that to the table. I just didn't swing it this year with everything else that was going on. The next thing I didn't get to the table, and I'm looking forward to doing, is the Stormlight Archives. This one is a little weird for me I mean, mostly it didn't get to the table because it's a very recent addition to the PJ household. And also, I'm still getting through the books, and I sort of don't know how far I need to get through the books before I'm not giving myself major spoilers. Like, I don't mind a little couple of things, but when there's major, like, world-defining plot points or mechanics, some machinations in the world that are going to be spoiled by reading the book, it's a weird thing. If anyone out there is very familiar with both the RPG and the books, let me know. How far do I have to read before I'm reasonably safe from spoilers? So that's the Stormlight Archive. Didn't get that to the table. Another one I didn't get to the table, which was odd not to get to the table, is Old School Essentials. Old School Essentials sits in an odd place for me at the moment. It sort of sits, obviously, with Shadow Dark and White Box. White Box I did get to the table even just for a short... In fact, I think at the beginning of the year, that was when I did my couple of White Box sessions, which I very much enjoyed, with Rink and Thor, I think, or Tor, no. Yeah, I think it's Tor. Thong the Barbarian was my favorite barbarian from the year, from the Kalarath sessions. Old School Essentials, I'm really keen to play it. I don't know why I'm deliberating. I think, and someone else brought it up in a comment recently that, hey, play more OSE. Or play some OSE. And I will play it. I'm excited about it. I think it's great. I'm a big convert to Gavin Norman, obviously, playing now Dolmenwood and loving it. But I don't know where it sits for me in play style. If the audio of my voice has suddenly changed, it's because I am turned towards my bookshelf and gesticulating wildly at the books up there and realizing that although I do play them a lot, they do need dusting. I'm just not sure where the playstyle is yet. I feel like I want it to be and I'm closing my eyes and thinking meaningfully about what it feels to me like it wants to be. And I think it wants to be a low narrative, high procedural mechanism game that I could play off mic with a small table space, scribbled on a bit of paper with a dungeon map, maybe a hex crawl, that kind of thing. I'm just not sure where it fits. Yeah, where that feel fits compared to things like Shadow Dark. Shadow Dark is great because the Cursed Scrolls stuff, I really enjoyed playing with the Viking one that I did there, and really looking forward to next year. We'll get to that. Because it has like the key locations and that kind of thing, and it takes some of the pressure off. Also, the random encounters based on whether you're in the forest or the city or anything like that. Like it takes a lot of that brain work out of it, which is really often really welcome in solo. Not always. Sometimes you want it. And so I'm just not sure where OSE sits. And I have to just kind of make a decision on that and just play it. It may well be doing published adventures. I got some of the OSE official published adventures because I think they're gorgeous little products. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm also thinking like one-page solo sheet type system like I did with White Box recently for the 20-minute challenge. Yeah. Also, and I'm just noticing, and I haven't mentioned, I've got the Stygian Library and Gardens of Yin, both of which are things I really want to throw at a different system and just experience them, even as a one-off thing to see what they are. Didn't get them to the table either. Those are the main ones that I did not get to the table. Moving on to the most valuable tool.
Monday afternoon at 4 on KUT Austin, KUTX San Angelo. Member-supported public radio from UT Austin.
This is a very interesting question. I wrote this down last minute. I mean, you all know what I'm like with prep. I did 3.5 minutes of scribble before starting this, just so my scattered, slightly ill brain could hold on to something. The most valuable tool is very interesting, and an ongoing development of me and my solo play, which I'll move into that topic as well. I've written development of my solo style. I'm going to combine both of these now. Last year, when I started playing this, I think it was beginning of last year, so beginning of 2024 probably, that I started my, or maybe a little at the end of 2023, I'm not sure, but started my solo journey with Fallout and Mythic. And in that regard, Mythic has been the most important tool for me and it is also probably the tool I have used the least this year, which is interesting me as I say this. And it's not because Mythic it's not that my feelings have changed about Mythic. I haven't grown out of Mythic or anything like that. My play style has kind of changed, and I think I just took a lot of the philosophy of Mythic and solo play, or maybe not even that. Maybe it just taught me how solo play can be, but also that there are other ways to do it. And so I absolutely will only ever use Mythic for Fallout play sessions. I will use it for when I eventually play The Witcher. No questions about that. Anything that is narrative heavy, and that I want to create a narrative out of that is long and overarching and has villains and plots and character development and story and world development, I will absolutely use Mythic for anything like that. And I have barely used it this year at all. And I think it is because, and I imagine this happens to everyone, and I know there are people who I talk to in the Discord who are quite a bit more experienced in solo than I am. But I think as you develop your own style, you start to learn about yourself and learn how you want to play. And often that leads to developing your own sort of tools, or at least picking and collaborating and putting together a toolkit of different bits and pieces of how you like to play. And something surprising to me that sort of happened accidentally, and it happened in and around some Forbidden Lands play, I think is where it started. And that was the development, the unofficial and loose development of my own little Oracle system, which is still a work in progress. And every time I actually play with it, it gets progressed a little further. And that is where I'm using 2d20. I'm calling it the Yes Oracle. That's not what it is. I mean, it tends toward yes. I found myself, and there was I probably do another episode on this, but anyway, I'm not going to go into that now. It came from a chat that I had with, ironically, Tana Pigeon, that really made me think about what I want when it comes to asking an oracle and the kinds of probability and the way that it feels, and that I've always known that flipping a coin or rolling a d6 and having an equal chance of a result, I find unsatisfying, weirdly, and I don't know why. And so I've developed this a little bit, and it's really simple. I am developing it slowly into a much bigger, broader sort of system involving like more of those mythic elements and the game emulator or game master emulator type system as well. That's a story for next year, if that project comes to light next year. But yeah, so actually the most valuable tool that I have discovered was actually the tool of experimentation and finding my own way. And now I don't even think about using another oracle, even if it's just for a simple yes or no question. That's what I'm using. And I'm constantly surprised at how effective it is for me and my playstyle. And so that has been my most valuable tool. I think it is the experience and the awareness and learning and understanding of what it is that I like. I will give special mentions, though, however, to the Juice Oracle and to Mini Mythic. The Juice Oracle I didn't use a lot, but I think it's an excellent thing and it can fit in a pocket. Also, same with the Mini Mythic, and I did use that quite a bit when I needed to reach for an Spark table and I didn't know what to use, or I hadn't planned anything. I've been terrible at using Spark plate tables, actually. I sort of haven't been using much of them unless they were included in the game, which is the best thing. But yeah, Mini Mythic there to be able to just pull that, open it up, and get a couple of words to spark things. That's the honorable mention for the valuable tools. I mean, the development of my solo play probably deserves a bit more thought, and me to actually maybe write something up and either put it out as a post or record an episode on it or discuss it with someone. I'm not sure yet. It is an ongoing thing, like I said, and I am, in theory, working on a larger project involving it, as well as officially working on a smaller project for someone else in another game with some solo development tools, which will be interesting, and you'll hear more about that in the new year. Other things that I, just coming back to, didn't get to the table, but but they feel different somehow, and that is Pendragon, The Witcher, and Coriolis. Actually, Coriolis the Great Dark is something I thought I wasn't rushing to get to the table, but after talking to Man Alone the other day on that episode you can go get for free over on the Patreon, I'm now significantly more interested in it than I was. But I'm talking about the Third Horizon, and that is because these are games I absolutely want to play and will play in the future, but they're not in my immediate hopper. Those are games, especially Pendragon and The Witcher, and all three of those games, those are games that I want to do. I want to give them the space and time that I think they need, that they deserve, to do something with them like that. And really get into it and not just sort of have a passing glance and a passing play of them. So yeah, those are other things I didn't get to the table. Looking forward in the new year, the next game to be on my table, if it is not in fact Dolmenwood, the next game that will be coming to my table, I didn't say it didn't get to my table because I have done character creation, I've done a bit of world building, I haven't done any recording for it yet, and that is Daggerheart. Daggerheart, I'm super excited about the potential of this for solo play, because just the way that it approaches certain things in the text and the mechanics, I think is going to be really, really interesting and, famous last words, easy, effective, smooth to play solo. I don't know if that's actually going to be the case. Maybe I'll start playing it and hit a wall. I'm not sure. But in my head, currently, it looks like a really interesting system to play solo, and I think has a lot of benefits for the solo role player. That is something I'm definitely looking forward to. As in terms for things that are arriving at my house, presumably next year that I'm looking forward to, one is the Shadow Dark expansion stuff, the Western Reaches, I think it's called. Really looking forward to filling out Shadow Dark a little bit and getting back into that with some of the new Curse Scrolls as well. The Mistborn RPG, which I do think maybe is coming out in 2027. I'm not certain about that, but I'm very excited to see what that does. And those books I have finished reading, so I could jump straight into it. I have other things that are unopened on my desk, on the sneaky pile near my desk, which, does it grow? I'm going to do another January sort of chat about what's arrived to my table, unboxing some stuff. There's some Black Friday stuff. There's some stuff that was given to me. There's some Kickstarter stuff, all of which I'm keen to open up, get into, have a look at, and talk more about. Some of those things I am very much looking forward to playing in the new year, but I'm not mentioning them here because I will talk about them when I do that, hopefully in January, if not February. We will see how we go. I think that is everything that I wanted to talk about officially in terms of the list and my year so far. I do want to now read some of the comments that listeners out there left me on the Reddit and on the Discord, and just read them out and just maybe ponder on those things for a little bit. But in order to do so, I'm definitely going to need another cup of tea. So I'm just going to go through these responses, combination of what's in the Discord and what's on Reddit. And there wasn't a lot of time. I thought of the idea last night and I thought, man, I'm running out of 2025. I need to get some thoughts down. Wouldn't it be cool to hear about some other people? Because, I find that useful, hearing where other people are at and helping that, for me personally, to gauge where I'm at and the similarities and differences and sparks new ideas. It's like a whole spark table into itself. Anyway, this is not me giving advice to people. I'm just going to read these and maybe just say a few words on what I think about it, how it makes me feel. Going to try not to go into much depth because I'm running out of time and running out of 2025. So the first answer I want to talk about is from Bruce the Wise, good old Bruce. And I'm going to be paraphrasing these as year. So Bruce says it's been a cool year. He's looking forward to getting into even more gaming next year, but also that he may have to separate out types of play, as in prep style play versus down to the action style play. This is a really good point, Bruce, that I think is worth considering for all of us solo role players. We hear all the time that prep is play, print is play. We have a whole ongoing, meme in the Discord about what is play. And it is both tongue-in-cheek and also very true. The problem comes in when you're doing less of the type of play that you like most, which most of us would probably say is the play part of it. And while all those other things are as well, nothing is better or worse necessarily. Whatever you enjoy, that's the beautiful thing of the hobby. We always talk about that. But if you find yourself doing more of one and less of the one you want to be doing, or worse yet, getting paralyzed and not really doing either because you don't know which to do or what to do, then I think this is a very good approach, and being able to separate that in your head. Talking about developing my solo system, that's one idea I've been working on actually, Bruce, you'll be pleased to know, is exactly that, having triggers in the game, like Mythic has triggers in by rolling doubles, that kind of thing, having triggers in the actual game mechanics that pull you into a different one of those modes, like the prep mode, the world building mode, that kind of thing. It's an idea, it's an experiment, don't know. But either way, deciding, this also ties into the 20-minute challenge, which has been super effective and had great feedback, how it helps people focus and just get down to do the thing they want to do and not sit there and ponder and wonder, is this the best tool for the job? Am I going to do this? What am I going to use? All that kind of stuff. So sitting down and say, hey, I've got 20 minutes or half an hour, whatever it is, I'm going to do prep for my Daggerheart campaign. I'm going to set up all the factions and do the world building and the relationships between the factions. Bam, 20-minute timer, roll up some faction names, roll up some faction goals, for example, or, and relationships between the factions. Mike Shea talks a lot about this, and I think he talks about 3 or 6 factions with, 6, I think. 2 good, 2 neutral, 2 bad, and then how they sort of interplay with each other, that kind of thing. And deciding on what part of the play you are going to be doing in this session, and sitting down and just focusing on that could be a really great idea, Bruce. I really like that idea, especially if you have only short amounts of time in which to do it. And it has the added benefit, and I experienced this as well. I'm like, okay, I can play today for half an hour, but then on Friday, I'm going to have a full hour where I can sit down and really sink my teeth into it. I do the world building and the prep and the setup stuff today, and then that just happily bubbles away in my head. Maybe I even roll up the first scene or whatever, and that happily bubbles away in my head for a few days, and then I'm really excited to sit down. And then in between those times, the daydreaming is play, and that's an enjoyable part of the hobby as well. Thank you, Bruce. I hope people don't mind me using their names. I mean, anyone who sees this post on Reddit, their Reddit names are on there. So Craterface said, I still struggle to solo roleplay, but trying to get through at least one scene each session has helped. Again, and this is me jumping in, setting those goals is I think, really important. They go on to say that it sets the bar low and makes you feel accomplished afterwards. This is very true and very important. Something that that Castle Grief said as well in Calarath in his advice is like, just learn what a meaningful session is to you, and that doesn't have to be a certain length of time or a certain number of achievements, but rather what feels meaningful to you in a session. And he even recommends to keep it short and say, do 40 minutes, and do 40 minutes more regularly rather than big long sessions less regularly. So that's good. Setting little goals is important. Finding the right balance between note-taking and storytelling comes with practice, and everyone is different. The Solo RPG notation book has helped. I assume they're referring to Roberto's, author of Lona's notation system, that he solo role-player notation. Look it up, you'll find it. Which is really cool. And I when I started doing my solo play off mic, before I found out about this notation, but I found doing that style of thing really helped me as well. They also say, probably obvious, but using systems with core dice mechanics makes learning the rules more fun. Yeah, play games where you have fun with the mechanics. You say it's probably obvious, and yes, it probably is, but it does not mean that people don't need to hear that and think about that occasionally. And then they say, I'm super guilty of this, but I spend more time prepping over playing. I had to force myself to just sit down with the book and just play. So yeah, just being aware of that stuff, and maybe thinking a bit more like Bruce, thinking, okay, this is going to be a play session, this is going to be a prep session, that kind of thing. Yeah. There are a lot of words in some of these. I'm just going to try and pull out some of the key ideas that they spark for me as I do. Salt Honey talking about it being a bit of a mixed bag, and that banging their head against a certain game, or rather Captain's Log Solo from Star Trek Adventures, and just keep trying to come at it from different angles, and it's just not working out. And really trying to do it because they love Star Trek, they're an OG Trekkie, and they just can't get the damn system to work for them. But I appreciate the tenacity of really keep trying something, and it just because it's not working. And I've had this experience as well with the wonderful and elusive Starforged, another game I'm really keen to keep playing in the new year. Yeah, just pushing and trying to find that angle, but also maybe there comes a point where you need a completely different angle, and maybe that is playing, if it's just about the Star Trek and not about the system, like the previous commenter was talking about playing a system that you actually enjoy the mechanics of. Maybe it's just the wrong system, and maybe you can play Star Trek in another system. Maybe you can play Star Trek in Starforged. I don't know. I don't know much about Star Trek. But yeah. They also mention other games like Shadowrun. That's something I have a passing familiarity with and sounds cool, but don't know it. The Painted Wasteland I have never heard of, but I am instantly intrigued as to what that is. I'm going to have to look that up. Truth and Justice, don't know what that is either. The Xantabulous Sorcerer. Okay, I've got to look up some of these games. Yeah, but good luck. Good luck, Salt Honey, in the new year. I really hope that you can find that angle, or maybe even go away and play some other things like it looks like you've been doing. Come back, try different angles, maybe try it with a different system, and I really hope that you can get your Trekkie kick in solo roleplay in the new year. All the best with that. A few comments offering advice on that as well. Another poster comments that although they didn't have much time to play, they're really happy that they assembled a really good toolkit setup with most of the systems they need, with several accessories. Yeah, that is a cool thing to be able to do as well. That's something I don't have, and something I do want to look at doing. I do a little bit, kind of, but I haven't really been using it in the way I want to. And especially for on the go, especially for when I'm, I don't know, going away, or I don't have the kind of job where I could solo role play there. But I love the idea of like going for a walk in the forest or something, and like with a picnic and sitting down and just spending an hour playing something out in the bush, in the forest. That I really, really like the idea of that, and have thought hard about putting together my own sort of kit. The thinking about putting together my own sort of kit has been sort of what has led to me loosely developing my own tools. So maybe eventually that just becomes my kit. So yeah, but that's cool. They had they managed to explore a fair bit. Iron Swan, Savage Worlds I've heard a lot about but haven't actually played. And lastly, my newest crush is Rift Breakers 2E, another Alex T game from Black Oath Entertainment. Lots of lovely ideas behind it. Basically an MMO and a TTRPG with a stupid amount of combat builds, and the combat is very interesting if you use a deck of standard cards. That's cool. Rift Breakers is not something I've looked into yet, but I have no doubt at all that it will be full of interesting ideas and really fun to play. And like most or all of Alex's games, really great for the self-contained little experiences. So I do look forward to checking that out. In fact, I believe Mandalone talked about that too over in that episode. Someone else writes that they had a rough year with lots of stops and starts where they could only write a sentence or two before road blocking. Keeping myself busy in the community and prepping for future projects. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that sucks if you're feeling like you're hitting roadblocks all the time. My only advice about roadblocks, because I do hit them, and more often than you realize out there, because, I can edit stuff. Not all the time, but I certainly do hit roadblocks and do get the feel bads occasionally. And all I can say that what I have found in those times where I was getting the feel bads, hitting a roadblock, just pushing through somehow, whether that was jumping ahead in the story or just hand waving something or just refocusing something or completely backtracking or whatever it happened to be, I found generally those roadblocks would go away and I would get quite quickly back into a place of having fun. So yeah, maybe that's helpful advice to you. I'm not sure. You can try pushing through, even if it does mean changing the rules, fudging something. Your fun is the important thing. Fun is play. Play should be fun. Captain Robot Duck, I love your picture. Captain Robot Duck is a great poster in the solo RPG, solo role-playing Reddit, and often comments on my stuff. I'm always happy to see Captain Robot Duck's comments. They say it's been a good one for solo gameplay. First time having had a solo campaign that they played on and off for more than a year, starting in May 2024 and running over 172 hours. Good on you, Captain Robot Duck. That is an epic solo campaign. I feared that when I had layers and layers of work, family, health, home stuff, I might lose interest, but today I returned to my campaign, and there's something magical about your game story being so clear in your mind that it happily lingers there, even when you don't have much time, bandwidth, etc. to play. Absolutely. That is exactly how I've been feeling all of this crazy month where I haven't been able to play at all, and it is all just sitting there. I can feel it waiting to come out. It is a magical thing, and more so than any other hobby, more so than even a great book I've read, like if I don't know, couldn't read for a month for some reason, when I open the book again, I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool, and I'm back into it, but I'm not thinking about it necessarily the whole time. Anyway, solo roleplay is magical. It's different. They also say that they're taking notes for when they finish and they want to write up what did and didn't work in case it proves useful to others. Good on you. That's very generous. This is such a generous community. I love it. They're going to say there are more and more solo games coming to market, and it feels like a steady growth. I'd be curious, PJ, on your thoughts on the tabletop game industry and solo. This came from listening to the Rascal Radio Hour episode 28 holiday special. They have a nice discussion about it. I'll go listen to that. I do not at all pretend to be in any position of authority or knowledge about the industry, really. I mean, I know I make a podcast and people listen to it, but I just feel like I'm a guy sitting here playing with my books and my dice. But hey, I'm really interested in listening to that episode. I will go check it out. And yeah, and if it sparks thoughts, I'll talk about them. Someone else saying that they struggled at the beginning of the year, but they've started up again the last few months, switching the focus from live recorded play to pro-style play using Obsidian. So yeah, changing the input method of how you actually play. Is that output? I'm not sure. Changing the method of how you record your sessions, whether it's analog and digital. And I know for a lot of people, like for me, analog is really important. For a lot of people, the idea of analog is important, but the reality is just that it means you're not going to get to play as much. And the important thing is actually playing more. And for other people, digital is totally the way to go, and that's where they get the most out of it. We've had lots of people. We've had people talking in the Discord about using the plot unfolding machine. Interview for that also coming out hopefully soon. Sorry about that, Jensen. It's been a little while. It is currently out on the Patreon if you're considering going over there, but that episode will be coming to the public when it fits into the topic of the month. Great chat we had. But yeah, using plot unfolding machine app, which is constantly in development and constantly being updated, and a really powerful tool for that. I've heard a lot of stories about people using that really effectively to solo play with the bare minimum of equipment. So they're going to say they're finding that the format really works for them. They ran through 9 parts of the Walking Dead universe campaign, which is cool. And also I have on my shelf and I'm excited to get to in the new year as well. And about a few of the other things they're playing, including starting the Great Pendragon campaign, something Manalone and I also talked about. That is something I'm very interested in, and more than a little bit nervous about, in a good way. But again, one of those things that I want to sit down and really give it the time and focus that I think it deserves. They also say that solo RPGing has been expensive this year. Yes, it can be an expensive hobby. All I can say is try and play the games that you buy. And I do lament still for a robust online platform where we can sell and trade our secondhand games. We have that for board games with Board Game Geek. Why don't we have it for RPGs? I wish someone would make that. I would love. And RPG Geek is right there. It could be there. Maybe people hang on to books more than games. I don't know. But I would love actually to free up some shelf space and give some of these books a new lease on life. Yeah. Anyway, only advice on that is, like, do what I've been doing and just get books off your shelf, even if you don't know the rules. Even if you only get a couple of sessions out of it, that still feels a lot different to you. You feel like you have dipped into the world at least. You've gotten some value from that, and it may spark, and does spark, ideas for other games you play in the future, and just generally builds up your solo roleplay skill repertoire, XP, for want of a better word. So yeah, that's all I can say. Get those books off your shelf. If you're spending money on them, get them off. Learn them by playing them while you do it. That's a great technique. I found I did that for the One Ring that I talked about. Another one I didn't mention now, but I am keen to continue finishing my Boromir's Lives story and then getting into Moria, that kind of thing as well. Karova13 says, a great year indeed. I enjoyed listening to various episodes of the podcast, but blah, 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 praise. Not blah, blah, blah. I just feel awkward about praise. They tried a ton of games. Shadow Dark White Box most recently. Kernothal's Across a Thousand Dead World, another one staring at me, needing to get played. The Immortal Seal, I don't know. I would look into that. Machine Gods of the Noxian Expanse. Also on my shame pile, The One Ring, Kalarath, Alrathak, Niv Lova. It sounds like you've had a great year of solo role-playing. That is a good, solid chunk of games. Big up to Black Oath again for featuring on everyone's list. 3 games on that list. That is fantastic. And they started a Substack. I did comment on that saying, if you share your Substack with me, I'll mention it on the podcast. Someone said, I really enjoyed reading your Kalarath actual plays. I don't think they shared it, or maybe I forgot to actually make that comment. I was going to. Anyway, check it out. Maybe ask them, Karova13, if you can find this post. I might put a link to this post in the show notes if I remember, if that makes sense. But you could probably find them there. Or if you're listening to this, Karova, which you may do because you are a listener, just drop your Substack there at the bottom and say, here you go, PJ, you asked for this. That's your official permission to do that. That is where I'm going to leave it today on the Solo Roleplayers podcast. I really enjoy sitting down and having a bit of a chat with you guys. I didn't have a script or a plan or anything like this. I hope you enjoy these kinds of episodes. I will be continuing to I look forward to continuing a varied approach to my episode styles, including the interviews, actual plays, and just more sort of talking. The talking part of it, which is maybe not everyone's favorite, I'm not sure, but it's certainly the easiest for me to do when time is tight. And so there will just be a natural ebb and flow of things based on who's around to interview, what games I have the time to actually play, especially new games. I do want to spend a significant amount of time, if possible, playing the games and campaigns that I'm actually loving, but that doesn't provide content for the main public show here. Although if you are interested in that stuff, you can, of course, check out the Patreon where all those things go. Thank you for being with me this year. This year has shown me how wonderful this hobby is, how important it is to me. I have just had a wonderful year. It was a net positive on my experience of my life this year. I hope you all had a great year in solo roleplay, or if you're just getting started, or if you didn't have a great year, but you're pushing through and finding ways to make it better for you and to find out and figure out the kind of solo role player you are. I'm so excited for what is to come for next year. I'm so excited to have a little bit of time. I still have a couple more weeks of hectic work schedule, but I'm so excited to have some more time to get some of these other games to the table and to keep hearing from you and talking to you all. It is really the honor and pleasure of my life this year. Thank you for being here. I look forward to seeing you next time on the Solo Roleplayers podcast. Happy 2025 and Happy New Year.